high-pitched sound of shattering glass pierced the air as the empty chest chamber collapsed on itself. The room succumbed to darkness. Then, little by little, the heart in Sion's hand began to glow. In the faint light, they could see the elemental. He froze motionless. His eyes remained open but empty, the flames all but gone. The fiery strands of hair took on the color of ash and fell down heavy, lifeless. The boy's fingers opened, and the flute hit the floor with a hollow sound. He shut down like a machine robbed of its power core. Sion looked at the stone resting in his palm. The vein-like strings of flame dimmed, thrown away from the heart's host, but their gentle flickering threatened the imminent return of the destructive power the gem could hold. He raised his arm, ready to heed Nu's words and shatter the stone before it was too late. And just like that, with no rituals, no mages, no spells cast, time seemed to slow down to a halt around Zestroia. For years she had fought with everything she had to quiet the thoughts that went against their promise. And when she couldn't hold them all back, she focused on making sure they were never truly formed, and most importantly, never said out loud. Because it felt that doing so would be the end. The dam would break, and nothing would be enough to let her turn back. But in the end, no mental dam could hold forever. No decades-old forced denial could withstand the blow of opportunity. It wasn't a secret anymore, of course it wasn't. But just because they knew the truth didn't mean they accepted it. Didn't mean they admitted it, solidified it, made it real. But now, Zestroia let it all go. Gone be the dam, gone be the denial. I want us to fail. I want us to fail. I've always wanted us to fail. But she also made sure to remember why they could not. Sion, don't! He turned around. His fingers gripping the heart went white, his arm visibly shaking. Then he met Zestroia's eyes, and in that instant she understood. Nu had told him the exact same thing as her. He too was given the choice. And he chose differently. Why, Ces? Why not? He asked. We are about to disappear, to save something that is as real as we are. If I shatter this stone, the first timeline will have never happened. Who's to say which one is more important? Which one is more real? Sion. Are we nothing? Ligren? Are we not worth saving? Everything we've been through, everything we've survived, is it so easy to discard? Do we not deserve to feel happiness? After everything we've given up, chasing after a promise we shouldn't be able to fulfill? How can we let them suffer if we can fix it? Zestroia's voice was quiet, broken. The words were barely passing through her throat. But it was her turn to pick him up, remind him why they had to carry on. That was the deal. That had always been the deal. It doesn't mean we don't deserve happiness. It simply means we can't have it. We can. I'm holding it in my hand. Zestroia walked up to him and lowered his arm. You won't throw it. You can't. Just as I couldn't let you even though I begged myself to do it. It's who we are. We couldn't ever be happy, if we knew that the people we used to care about had suffered because of our selfish choice. She smiled lightly. It sucks to be a good person. And it sucks even more to love one. But hey, Dardanian prison sucked pretty hard too. And we survived that. Do it, she whispered. Do it before I run out of will to tell you to do so. Or before you run out of will to listen. He had stopped her heart once before. This time, he just had to go one little step further. Sestroya lay on the ground and let Sion put her to sleep. The heart was awakening. They didn't know how much time they had to wait or talk. If there was anything left to say at all. Sion brushed away the hair from her face and gently traced her cheekbone, wet from tears that even the heat of the elemental couldn't keep drying in time. Don't worry. He suddenly heard a voice. The elemental turned its head and looked at them. Its heart will revive her and cure the wound. You only need to place it in her body before the soul departs. Sion looked back at Sestroya. When she was awake and he could hear her voice, it wasn't hard to remember their youth. No. It was hard to remember that their youth had passed. Something about her just made it impossible to be present in any kind of dark reality. She took him elsewhere, back to when they would laugh and bicker about the stupidest of things, when the future was something to look forward to. It was when she fell asleep, quiet and moving, that he would see their life for what it truly became. I can't do it, he whispered. I can't cut her open and take her heart out. Even if we are going to disappear the next moment, I can't. He stood up. The elemental was watching him, calm, dispassionate. Then he reached his hand out and Sion passed the stone to him. He didn't care what Nu would do with it. It didn't matter. He failed. That was all there was to it. A simple fact Sion didn't have the strength to change. He could not take out Sestroya's heart. The elemental looked at the stone pulsating with dim light, as if he saw it for the first time in his existence. It will do it for you, he said. It does not understand why it will. It all means nothing to it. He took a few steps towards Sestroya, then knelt beside her. And yet, with a gentle flick of hand, not even needing to touch her skin, the creature split Sestroya's chest open. The ribs protecting the heart turned to dust, and with them, gone was the heart itself. The elemental placed the stone on the bed of ashes, and the gem found its life. The light returned, the wound closed, cauterized by the returning fire. Nu stood up and looked at Sion. Take her to the portal, he said. Remember, a mortal cannot live with elementals heart long. Sion nodded. He knelt down to pick Sestroya up, but then Nu spoke again. This time his voice rang different. Weaker somehow. Vulnerable. Don't leave it a husk, he said. Huh? Destroy it. Destroy it. Destroy it, was the being's desperate plea. Don't leave it a husk. Sion reached for the forgotten gun and aimed it at the elemental. Will this work? He asked. It doesn't know, try. The deafening sound of the shot left an echo that resonated in the chamber and traveled through the stairway to the surface. The bullet hit the elemental's head. There wasn't a drop of blood that came from the wound, but the white skin that surrounded it blackened quickly. The damage spread, and in moments the boy's body turned to ash. The bullet fell to the floor beside the flute and the dark robe. "Be at peace, spirit," Sion whispered and hurried to Zestroya. He struggled to pick her up with his weakened arm, but eventually found a way to carry her outside. He tried to push away a thought, lurking at the back of his head. Had Agare left this poor creature alive in the timeline they were about to bring back? If the universe knew mercy, he hadn't. The price here was already high enough. When she awoke, the world seemed to be on fire. "Sion," she whispered. "I'm here," he said. He was. She lay on the ground with her head in his lap. "Everything burns," she said. "My whole body feels like it's burning. And the smell." She raised her hand to her face. The skin grew red. Her back felt like it was beginning to blister. "Sion. Sion." The elemental heart was beating in her chest, but it didn't pump blood. It was pumping burning energy through her channels. It was both keeping her alive and killing her at the same time. They were by the portal, the flat stone with Actariel incantations and their names, forever etched on the surface of the constant. "How do we use this?" Sion asked. "We forgot to ask it. Was it a trap, a trick?" He was panicking. "No," Zestroya said. "Don't worry. The heart makes it clear. Touch the stone. Take my hand, and I will make you go." "What do you mean, make me go? Can't you just erase it all at once?" "I don't want to. I want to watch you go to be happy. That's my final wish." "I don't go anywhere. It's not me there on the other side," he said. "He and I aren't divided by a single thought. We're different by a lifetime of thinking. It wasn't an easy life, but it was a life worth living. It was a life with you. I love you, Kir. There will never be a day when I won't love you, Legren." Legren smiled and leaned forward to kiss him on the cheek. Her lips were dry and blistering, so this was all she would ask for, but Kir turned her head and laid the gentlest kiss upon her aching skin. "It's a love that transcends realities," he whispered. "We will find each other again. I'm certain of it." He wasn't, and neither was she. Legren directed the energy rampaging through her body into her finger, molding it into a sharp, burning hot tool. She could barely feel the burn anymore as she etched a message in the stone. "So be it," she said. "We go together." There was love that could transcend realities and worlds. There was love that conquered all. There was love that was simply eternal. But the love they had in this world was not a love that was anything. It was a love that simply was not. It was nothing. In the barest, most cruel and literal meaning of the word. There were hangovers, and then there were Hangovers. The kind that came after you got so drunk, your body was just over it, and it didn't even feel like letting you know anything was up. The only indication that a party took place the day before was a complete lack of recollection of the events of the past hours. Undefined amount of hours. Yes, that was the type of hangovers Destroyer woke up with on the 23rd of Ahnar. Little else could explain why she was asleep on the ground in the middle of the forest and in the company of Cyan of all things. He ruffled his chocolate hair and said, "Sess, I don't think we should drink with the guard anymore." He looked no less baffled by their current situation. "I don't know what we had, but I don't even have flashes of anything. Last I remember, I was dozing off at the pub." "Same, man, same." Destroyer picked herself up. "Good thing we're all dressed, eh? That's one less disaster to discover," she kid, and immediately regretted her words. I think I gotta go get back to work." "Today? What?" Cyan laughed. "You must still be drunk. Go get some rest, Sess." "Knowing Professor Hamis, he'll forget today was supposed to be work-free and he'll have my hide tomorrow if I show up with nothing," she said. No, of course she wouldn't work today. She wasn't crazy, but she needed an excuse to make herself scarce. Right now. Being alone with Cyan wasn't great for her resolution to move on. "I'm gonna go find Nell before she figures out I went off somewhere to drink without her," he said. "Else we might both end up hideless." "Yeah, you do that." Destroyer smiled and waved him away. Well, time to get this damn life in order. And no time like the present, right? But first she had to find her glasses. Thankfully, even in the drunken days, she'd apparently been coherent enough to place them somewhere easy to see, even for a human mole. Smart girl. She patted herself on the back and knelt down beside a strange structure? The glasses lay on a flat white stone covered in blurry writing of some sort. The stone had a hole in the middle with a peculiar pillar sticking out of it. On top of that sat a black rock of polished charcoal or something similar. "And what are you supposed to be?" She picked it up. It looked suspiciously valuable. For a moment she considered taking it with her, but the whole thing looked like some kind of memorial, so in the end she decided against it. She finally put the glasses back on her nose and rejected her mole identity. The writings on the stone were mostly some Actorial gibberish, but one sentence in the middle was written in Durhan. Gross. The lettering looked eerily like her own handwriting, though. It posed a question. Do you feel real?